Watch this video and then I'll be back.
By 2030, 45% of working women ages 25 to 45 will be non-married, no kids, single.
So what's wrong with that?
So you might say, well, what's wrong with that? If you think that you're going to genuinely be fulfilled in life because you made money, best of luck to you.
Okay, so he had one perspective. I'm going to give you another.
Well, actually, I'm gonna butt in fast because I've lined up much more perspectives from different women, because he's definitely right on the first part of what he said, because now there's data showing that birth rates are already declining, and that is for so many reasons. So I'm gonna let her finish, and then we're going to listen to a few more women. And I would really urge you to invite the men in your lives to listen to this conversation, so that they're also not pressuring or judging the declining birth rate because they misconceive why some women want to be child-free by choice. Because very few men are child-free by choice. There's a very big disparity between men and women and who has chosen to be child-free. So different things would be helpful for them to also understand the other side of the coin, because it's women who give birth, and it turns out they also raise the entire family at the end of the day. So this is an important discourse to invite everyone, and I'll let her finish.
And this one's coming from an actual woman who was single and child-free and fulfilled. When I was a little child in the 70s, my grandmother and her two sisters, all very well-educated women, especially for that time period, looked at me and said, never depend on a man. And I was like, I'm 5. But what they were trying to instill in me was that my independence was important. They knew that a good education, especially at that time, led to financial freedom. And when you have financial freedom, you make better decisions for your life. I was married for 22 years. We never shared a bank account, and we never had joint credit cards. When I got my amicable divorce, my lawyer said it was one of the easiest that he had ever done. And I wasn't planning on getting divorced, but having financial independence definitely made it easier. And it helped me with the decision that it was time to leave. I never felt trapped. I knew that I had my own money, and I knew that I had 4 college degrees. Whoever comes into my life at this point is here because I want them here, not because I need them here. I have a fantastic and supportive boyfriend, and he's in my life because I want him in my life. He doesn't pay any of my bills. We don't live together, and I have no intentions of getting married. I have a fantastic and supportive family. I have a huge group of female friends. I have a job that I love. I have hobbies I adore. I feel valued, connected, and fulfilled. I don't have a husband, and I don't have children. If you want a husband and you want children, great, please do it. That will be fulfilling for you. I just don't want you to listen to some guy with a podcast saying that you will be a miserable old crone if you don't do these things. Only you know what's right for you, and that's what you have to follow. There are some of us here in our 50s and older who led the way for this, and we're telling you, it's a damn good life. This is a picture I have of my grandmother and her 2 sisters when I was 17.
That eldest daughter to child-free pipeline is serious. I was a teenage mom. Why would I want to go and do that again? And if I do go and do it again, it's not going to be for a long time. There are people who are literally my age having kids, and I know more about child rearing than you do because that's all I did after school. I mean, in a few ways, I'm very grateful that my childhood was truncated by the birth of my siblings, because it really taught me about the actual real impact that having children can have on your life, your health, your mental health, and on the mental health of your other children too. And so when I meet people who are only saying positive things about having children, I regard that with the utmost suspicion, because it's not all roses. I remember being like 16 and being at college and girls being like, oh my gosh, I'm feeling so broody. And I always thought it was very weird. Like, your frontal lobe has not developed and you're thinking about housing another human being. And it's all because we don't fully conceptualize in society how big of a deal it is to actually have children. You know who has figured out how big of a deal it is? Those eldest daughters that should have been facing their books, but instead were facing the face of a 6-year-old.
people who are childless and people who have children are living completely different realities. And I want to be the one that gives my fellow girls, especially those in their 20s, childless, a reality check, because I just had mine this past week. So it's the holidays, right? Kids are on holiday. I figure, let my brothers come over. So mom sends them to Karen. They were also to help me with a few businesses that I had a masterclass. So I figured instead of paying someone to help me with all that setup and all that, let them come so that they do this and then they help me around, right? So I was staying with them this past week. Guys, here's the thing. Number one, I now understand why parents eventually have the perspective they have. Like, it's such a beautiful feeling. But let's get into the reality check of it all. Number one, okay, our last born is a teenager, the other one is in campus. So our last born is more of the child I'm talking about in this situation. Number one is that raising a child in middle class level is freaking expensive. Guys, I don't think I've ever fathomed this. Like, I don't think I've ever done the maths behind this. But if you step out with that child, you've just stepped out of the house. Your 10K is gone. That is the minimum you can ever spend when you step out with a middle class child outside. It doesn't matter how little of an activity you do, because them just picking one thing or being involved in just one activity, your 10 G's down. That is the stepping out of the house. You've not done anything else. So the first reality check I had is how expensive it is to raise a middle class child in the world that we live in today. That is number one. The second reality check I had is, can you believe if you have a child in a house, you have to do the 3 meals in a day? Like, there is breakfast, there is lunch, there is dinner. Now this was a teenager, so it's even more, because teenagers eat like crazy. It means your fridge is cleared out in a span of 2-3 days. It doesn't matter how well you stock that fridge. It doesn't matter how well you stock it. Your 12 apples that you go with a whole week plus, that thing is cleared in like 2 days a day. The 3 meals that you do is not the end of it. There has to be snacks in between. In short, you can't be lazy. You can't be lazy and be a parent. It's crazy, because when I look at my friends and I look at my circle and I look at my age mates, I don't think we are cut for this. I don't think we can actually do it long term. And now I understand why there's so many women hitting their 30s plus without kids. Because once you have this reality check, it's almost like, oh my goodness, I didn't even recognize I'm too lazy to actually parent. As in, you can be the most hardworking person in your work. Like, I run a whole corporate, I do a lot of things. So I'm not lazy when it comes to work. But here's the thing, naturally in your 20s, back in your house, back in your safe space, you want to literally do the least possible thing ever. Like, we order in food almost half as much as we eat. People in their 20s relate to this. We order food almost half as much times as we eat, as we cook. And it's because when you live alone, even the habit of ordering food is not expensive. As a matter of fact, it's almost equally same to cooking. Glovo, you'll order a full kuku kienyeji from Glovo for like 1,200-1,500. And that chicken will take you 3 days. So once you have the accompaniments, the math you've actually used in ordering food is way much cheaper. You can't do that when you have company, when you have kids. Yeah? Because first of all, they're eating portions. And just the calculation of ordering food that is enough for all of you goes way beyond that. So you have to resort to at least cooking. This means 3 freaking meals in a day. It doesn't end there. So not only can't you be lazy when you have kids around, but you see your usual me time where you take a break and decide, okay, now it's the weekend, let me go hang out with my friends. There's a guilt that internally you carry within you. Like, I was feeling like I'm being irresponsible by having a child in the house and still stepping out to catch up with my friends somehow. And you can't even do it 100%. So I ended up telling my friends, you know what, let's just do this the coming weekend when I feel a bit easy. Because I know even if I go out, I'm still going to be very uneasy. You know, how do they leave a child in the house by themselves? So first of all, it cuts on your on your social life. Now here's the good part, so that you don't say I'm criticizing parents, because I experience it. I now understand why parents love being parents, because it's actually addictive. You'll wake up in the middle of the night, you may be going to grab something in the kitchen. You find they had plugged in their iPad. It was charging. It's now fully charged. Like, you become so responsible that you unplug it for them and plug in their AirPods. Like, you find yourself doing these things that you don't even do when you're hanging around with your friends. But it becomes almost like an addiction when it comes to responsibility to them. Even when they're not watching, even when they're not, you just become attached indirectly to them. And now I understand why there's this love parents have for their children, right? They can't imagine a life without it, because it creeps on you slowly. So it's a very interesting dynamic, because once you are in, it's almost like this addiction that takes away from you but gives you. No, I understand parents better, but I'm also having a reality check about the true nature of having kids in today's economy and in this century. The responsibility it takes, the energy it takes, yeah, the emotional connection that it comes with, the responsibility, just, it's almost like having another job. But it's a job that you enjoy, but it's also exhausting, but you enjoy it. I don't know how to describe it, but I felt like people in their 20s need to have this reality check, because I feel like I just had it. Yeah, it's not one of those things that take your time to make a decision around it, especially knowing that they're expensive. Take your time. Yeah, but I don't think I'd mind having a child at this point. Just can it wait for the 30s? That is my analysis. Can you just wait a bit, because I want to bed rot over the weekend and feel good. Yeah, and I want to be able to have 1 meal in a day, not feel guilty, and I want to be able to hang out with my friends. It's just a number of things, but it's a beautiful experience, guys. What do you think?
I'm 29 and childless right now. Majority, if not all of my friends have a kid, or two, or maybe even three. And I can't lie, before my friends had kids, I felt like I'd be a mother already. I really did believe that I would have kids mid-20s. After we got married, I was 25. I thought that we would pretty much get married and start to have kids. But as I sort of saw how parenthood unfolded for my friends and how stressful and how much it was, it kept making me push back further and further as to when we wanted to start a family. I'm like, you know what, let's actually live a bit more now, because everybody's soul seems sucked. And it's not like they're not having a great time. Like, they love their kids. They're great parents. It's amazing to see. But truly, like, majority, if not all of my friends have completely changed, and I don't know that they're happier. Obviously, you can't really reverse that shit. Like, you're kind of stuck where you are once you have them. You can't put them back up. Seeing this all unfold really has put into perspective just how much of your life is consumed and how much of yourself you lose when you're a parent. I don't think people were being honest before this generation. I think now people are being more honest about the struggles, and people are showing up online and sharing so much of what was never communicated to people, and everybody sort of just did the damn thing. But now I'm thinking, like, fuck, I really gotta want this. I really have to want this and be willing to give up my entire life, my entire soul, and my entire personality.
I've escaped 80% of life's problems by not having children. So I did a video about this on my YouTube channel last year, and it was my most viewed video to date, where I talk about how the only thing that I have to worry about when I wake up in the morning is, do I want coffee or tea? And there's no legitimate reason under the sun for me to ever change that. A lot of people don't have a deep understanding that for many of us child-free women, The decision to be child free really just comes from not wanting to make our lives harder than it has to be. Because it's like, why would I do that, right? I talked about how I don't have to worry about stuff. And then if I had kids, I would have to worry about a bunch of things, like overnight. If I, right now in my life, I no longer have to live paycheck to paycheck. Now, I'm not bragging or anything like that, but I know what it's like to live paycheck to paycheck because I used to live like that a long time ago. And now I don't have to. Like, I even have things on auto pay now, because we always joke about, you know, you made it if you got things on auto pay. Like, just take it out of this account. You know what I mean? I have stuff like literally coming out of this account on auto pay, like every week, every month, whatever. And so I literally would go right back to living paycheck to paycheck again and struggling again if I had children. And I have no intentions on doing that. And I don't understand why that's hard for people to get. It's almost like people want you to be miserable with them because they're miserable. Because it's like, what part of I'm comfortable and I don't want to change that do people not get? Like, and if you're pretending to not get it, I'm thinking it is because you're miserable and you're upset that other people won't be joining you in your misery. I never have to know what it's like to have a kid unalived in a school, pew-pewing, or to be bullied or harassed or unalived in any way, assaulted in any way. Like, I'm never going to have to experience that. I don't want to experience these things, you know? A lot of times you guys think that going through things builds character. And I'm like, maybe it does in some ways, depending on what it is and who it is. But I don't want to go through my kids being harmed and unalived to build my character. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to go through homelessness to build my character. I don't want to lose everything that I've worked hard for. I don't want to go back to living paycheck to paycheck to build my character. I would rather build my character by reading books, by learning about different cultures and learning about people and studying human psychology and studying plants and animals and whatever. You know what I mean? Studying the universe in which we live in, right? I would rather build my character by getting out and helping to volunteer at soup kitchens and stuff. Like, that is how I build my character. And I don't associate struggle with building character, especially if it's something that you can avoid. I am not about to get up every day and make my life a living hell just because people think that's what makes a real woman or that's what makes a real adult when you have all these 1,000,001 responsibilities. Like, no, I'm not going to do that. And I'm speaking for myself, and I'm also speaking for all the other child-free women out there, and even women who have kids but are like, I'm one and done. You know what I mean? Or I'm two and done, and that's it. Y'all got me effed up. So people have the right to live their lives how they want. But the reason why I say I escaped 80% of life's problems by not having kids is because most problems that women have in their lives tend to come from the stresses of parenthood or motherhood, and also from whatever spouse that they're living with or having to deal with, right? It is what it is. Those are the two, a man and some kids. Those are the two major stressors on a woman's life. Of course, you got money problems, and you have all these other things, the beauty standards and all that crap, right? But the main two things, kids and a man. And I am without both. And I plan on being without both forever. The kid thing is for sure not happening. Done, right? I can't wait till I hit menopause. That way, nature would make that decision for me. Then I ain't got to worry about it no more. But the whole aspect of being in a relationship, like, there's like no benefit for me to do that. It's like no benefit. I see all the ways in which it can ruin my life. I see 0 ways where it can make my life better. So if I take away those two major problems that cause women the most strife in their lives, what strife do I really have to deal with now? Little stuff like don't be late to work, or make sure my Amazon packages come on time. My Fashion Nova jeans need to be here before Friday because I plan on taking them on my trip. You know what I mean? Those are the types of things that I worry about every day, and I want to keep it that way. If you think it's selfish and self-absorbed or whatever, then that's too bad. But I plan on being selfish and self-absorbed until the day I die. Anybody who have a problem with that, that's exactly what it is. It's your problem. Scamper off and find a way to deal with it. And I'm out.
Choosing not to have kids is a trait of very highly empathetic people. They don't sugarcoat it. They don't have baby fever. They're like, I am fully aware that every action that I do with this little human will make a huge impact on them. They're fully aware of how much effort, how much time, how much money will take to sufficiently raise this little human being. And I'm going to toot my own horn for a second. I know that I would make a great parent, but I know that it would kill me. I know that I would be bending over backwards to make sure that my kid has an incredible life to the best of my ability, and it would kill me. For reference, I plan my weekends around my dog. Oh, gotta fit a walk in. Oh, gotta make sure I schedule things right. Imagine I had a child. I know that having a child would be essentially giving away my entire life. And I don't want to do that. I know that my life would no longer belong to me. Which is sad, isn't it? Because the people who are thinking this through would probably make the best parents. Obviously, I'm not saying that everybody who raises a child is not thinking about things. I'm sure they are. But I feel like people who are child-free by choice, they really are thinking about it. Your life no longer belongs to you. And I really like my life.
One of the best decisions I've ever made for myself is to be child-free. And I don't care what anybody says, or if they're gonna come at me in the comments saying I'm selfish and I only care about myself. Because people have kids for very selfish reasons. People will have kids to take care of them when they're older, to prove to their parents that they could be a better parent. I literally throw up thinking about that. Literally, my own mother told me, when I told her the shit she did to me growing up, she was like, just have your own kids and do a better job. Excuse me? Just like so disgusting. And second of all, I don't need validation from a child. That I'm a good person, that I have worth, that I have purpose, because I can find all that within myself. When you look for that from a child, you will inevitably traumatize them, put them into a role they did not ask to be in. And essentially, you're making a choice on behalf of someone else that didn't get a say in it. Because you wanted to have joy and bring life into the world because it is so beautiful. What about all the other lives that already exist? The billions of them? But it has to come from you though, right? It has to be your own. Because you're fulfilling a reason within yourself. Anyways, on top of that, I spent a huge chunk, all my fucking childhood, being a therapist for my mom, for people around me, constantly literally abandoning myself because I had to make other people happy. And I'm like, dude, I am not putting off my life anymore. Like, I am not gonna be living for someone else. I'm gonna be living for myself, and I'm gonna be living for the people that are already here and existing in the world that I love, that are my soul family. Like, those are the people that matter to me. I don't need to bring another person in here to be like, I don't have friends, so let me have a fucking kid because they'll love me unconditionally. No. Literally, one of the best decisions I could ever make. Literally one of the best decisions I could ever make. I am so happy with my decision every single day. When I have disposable income, I could do whatever the fuck I want. And I could just be free and explore life. And if I want to hang around kids, I will literally go hang around my friends that have kids. Or my family members that have kids. I'm like, yeah, bro, like, let me take your kid for like a couple hours and let me give it back to you. But it's such a beautiful life. It's so awesome. And for anybody that tells you like, you're gonna regret it, it's like, I'm not regretting it right now. I'm not gonna regret it later because I'm not gonna make someone else my guarantee as to why I need someone like to take care of me when I'm older. I'm gonna figure all that shit out on my own and not put that onto a brand new person that I decided to bring here because I wanted to.
If I was to find out I was pregnant today, I would go into cardiac arrest. It's got so bad, whenever I hear an announcement at work that somebody's expecting a baby, my thought is, how? During these cosy livings? Let me tell you, if I was to have a baby today, I need to have $500,000 in my savings account, minimum. Like, I'm really deep in it. Nappies, food, clothing, nursery. These nurseries, yeah, are stealing a living. What am I hearing about nursery fees being over £1,000 a month? And if your child is sick and they can't attend nursery, you still get charged. What kind of evilness is that? The other day, I got home from the studio at night, and although I was hungry, I couldn't be bothered to cook. So I went to bed hungry. I can't do that if I'm a mother. Firstly, I wouldn't even have the luxury of getting back home so late like I do all the time. And then to top it off, I can't starve my kid. Like, really imagine it, guys. Having a bad day and just wanted to scroll through TikTok and have a lie-in. But you can't because you have a child that needs you. As much as I really want to be a mum one day, it actually terrifies me. Especially the mums on this app. Y'all don't hold back. You guys are way too honest about your experiences. But all jokes aside, my highest respects goes out to all the mothers. I don't know how you do it.
Every time I'm having a conversation with someone about the fact that I'm pretty sure I don't want kids, their response is always, oh, you'd be such a good mom though. I know I would be a good mom. I know I would. But at what cost to me? At what cost to me would I be a good mom? Because I know I would be. I would sacrifice absolutely everything for them. But what does that leave for me?
I'm 33 and I choose to be child-free. One of the most common comments I receive is the classic, if your parents thought the same way, you wouldn't exist argument. Funny how people assume that just because my parents decided to have kids, it automatically means I should too. If we are playing the what if game, what if my parents had chosen differently, I think that would be fine by me, as I wouldn't be here to deal with your unsolicited opinions on my life choices. Okay, on a more serious note, let me break it down for you. Imagine a world where every person acted solely based on what previous generations did, yet still be living in caves debating whether to use fire for warmth or for cooking. Just as my parents made their own choices and pursued their own paths, I've made mine. The brilliance of human existence is that we are not bound to a one-size-fits-all manual. Choosing to be child-free isn't a rejection of my parents' decisions or values. It's about acknowledging that there are countless ways to live a fulfilling and meaningful life. Yes, my parents chose to have me, but I am my own individual person, and that means I get to make my own decisions, one that aligns with my goals and my happiness. My parents raised me to think critically, not to follow their footsteps blindly, and let's be honest, the only argument you've got is a hypothetical scenario based on a decision made decades ago. It's time to rethink your logic. Whether you like it or not, choosing not to have children is just as valid as choosing to have them. On that note, I am on a solo date today, treated myself to ballet flats from Fabulous, and will continue bopping around South Ken area as I've got no childcare duties to fulfill. Mwah.
What do you think the secret to not being stressed is?
Not having kids.
They're becoming self-aware. Hi, I'm the girl with the list, here to cure your baby fever, and this is reason 305 I'm not having kids.
You should clean pee out of an air vent.
Here's the thing, I was a kid once. I remember putting things down the air vent because I assumed it was a portal to the shadow realm. I used to put my Polly Pockets down there to banish them. But I never went so far as to pee down there. But I'm learning, to my surprise, that this is not so uncommon. Because every person in that comment section has either had their kids do it, or has done it themselves. My daughter put down our heater vent one time, and when the heater kicked on, it filled our whole house with the smell of it was not a solid. My son peed in a corner of his room multiple times, and we didn't find it until days later after it had been festering and we couldn't find the source of the smell. My brother used to do that. Been there, done that. My grandson in the air vent. Cleaned up chocolate milk throw up one time. My mom's brother never left his room and would do this so he could stay in his room to play games when he was little. Is this just one of those things that every parent deals with and nobody talks about it until somebody makes a viral video and then everyone's like, yeah, that happens. What? Well, I can confidently say that this is something that I will never be dealing with. My air vents make a cameo in every video I post, and not once have they ever been full of pee. Take your birth control. Don't let anyone put Polly Pockets or, God forbid, something worse down your air vents. Did you guys notice she was late today? She was eating and now she's taking a nap. She really is a star.
I didn't choose to be child-free. I chose not to have babies with men who could barely even support themselves, let alone a baby. I chose not to start a family with highly toxic men who had mental health issues that they refused to address. I chose not to have children with men who would ultimately themselves just become another child to parent. Whatever the reason, the choice to be child-free for some women is very important. I chose not to procreate with losers.
It should come as literally no surprise to anybody on this planet that women are not wanting to have children anymore, considering the fact that the main reason for divorces nowadays is lack of commitment, and women are usually the ones who initiate divorces, right? Men will sit there and try to say that, oh, Women are always the one who leave relationships. You guys are the one divorcing us. You gotta be so for real right now. How many times did your wife tell you, I need you to do this, I need you to do that, stop doing this, stop cheating on me, take care of our kids, help me with the groceries, help me with cleaning the house. And then you expect her to not only take care of the house, take care of the kids, take care of you, but then go and work 9 to 5 and go 50-50 with you? Are you out of your freaking mind? No kidding, women don't want to have children anymore. No kidding, women are divorcing men, because why would I want to deal with the stress of you doing F shit behind my back? Me taking care of these kids that I birthed, literally ruined my body for you, that you don't even take care of. Why would I want to do that when I can just go be alone, stress-free? No kidding. No kidding. But men will always sit here and try to blame the demise of society on us when they're literally the ones that built society.
I don't want kids. I never wanted to have kids. I am child-free by choice. The older I get, the more sure I am of this decision. Every time I express this, people start going against me. They think I hate children. Not true. They think I'm judging people who have children. Also not true. They think I still have time. Time for what? They think I will change my mind. How rude and disrespectful of my opinions. They think I have psychological issues. I mean, who doesn't, but I don't think that's the reason. They think something happened to me. They think I will adopt 15 cats. I mean, I love cats, but I'm allergic to them. They think I cannot find a partner. I've been in a happy relationship for a long time. They push their opinions onto me. They think I'm broken. What? They think my life has no purpose. You know what I think? It's time to change all of these. To be more vocal. Because freedom of choice, matters.
Day in the life of a selfish woman. I'm 32 years old with no desire to get married or have children, and people often ask me if I met the right person, would I change my mind? The answer is no, I won't. Not wanting to be a mother has less to do with finding the right person than it does living a life free from avoidable stress. Although the thought of trying to co-parent with a man where I have to shoulder the majority of the emotional and physical labor sounds like a nightmare. No one is immune to life's challenges, but at 32, I finally feel like I'm at a place where I can do what I want, when I want, without answering to anyone, and it feels fucking awesome. Having a child would completely change that, and for what? Being a mother is really hard, and I don't want to work hard. The idea of hard work has been glamorized by the institutions and people, mainly men, that benefit from a woman's labor the most, so I'll gladly take the easy way out if it means I don't have to stress about raising a child in a broken system that only rewards the smallest subset of the population if they fit neatly into a mold. And even then, what's really the reward? Most people don't have the privilege of self-actualization because they're forced to live paycheck to paycheck, grinding away at unfulfilling jobs for just a few weeks of freedom a year, if they're lucky. If I ever do choose to partner again, that person will share the sentiment that being a selfish woman isn't a flaw. It's a conscious rejection of the societal expectation that women must sacrifice themselves for others to be worthy or valuable, and being selfish is a wonderful thing a woman can be.
So yeah, I'm 53, completely single by choice, and also no children by choice. Love my life, have incredible friends, and travel is the secret to my happiness. I do not wait around for some man to show up to travel with me or to explore places with me. I do it on my own and have so much fun, and usually take friends with me, meet friends wherever I go. It's the secret to my personal happiness. So if you're out there whining and complaining that you can't find a guy and your life is not worth living, then you better knock it off and rethink the way you're living your life, because you got one shot, babies. So have fun and enjoy it while you can, single or not.
What do you mean you don't want children? My wife and I just don't want kids. Well, you will outgrow that. You know, I didn't want children either when I was your age. But then I had them anyway, and I resented them because they stole my freedom and crushed my dreams. So I was a terrible father. And now I haven't seen them in 8 years.
Does any of that sound familiar to y'all? I be feeling like that's what parents really want to say to us, child-free people. Like, they really want to say, they really want us
to have kids because misery loves company. They want to bond over how much they hate their kids. They want to bond over how much money their kids are costing them, how much freedom and peace their kids are costing them. If you don't have kids, how are y'all going to bond? How are you going to relate to them? Oh, that's right, you can't. I'm going to keep saying this till the cows come home. If you don't want kids, don't have them. Don't have them just because people are telling you to. Fuck them people.
A lot of people don't want to have kids because they don't want to have to sacrifice their own happiness and their own pleasure for somebody else. And I think that's admirable that you know that about yourself, because a lot of people are going to be like, you're so selfish. But it's like, yeah, I know I'm selfish. I know I'm selfish, and therefore I don't want to have to add anybody into this space that I might end up abusing because I'm selfish, because I'm weird. And sometimes I watch things that remind me of a Saturday morning on Lifetime. I was watching Mama Flora's Family, the miniseries, and it perfectly illustrated why a lot of people don't want to have kids. Because there was a scene where a mama played by Erica Alexander was sitting at a table with her 2 kids, and her daughter just finished her chicken, and she put up the bone and she said, "Can I have another?" And Erica Alexander was about to take a bite of her chicken, and she looked at her daughter and then she handed her her piece of chicken. And I know some of you are not going to be able to do that. She didn't have enough money. She didn't have enough food. Her child was hungry, and she fed her child her food. Now, some of y'all would have had children starving because you would have been like, I gotta eat too. And some of y'all would say you need to be grateful for the little that we do have while you eat your chicken in front of your child. But some people have the heart of being a parent that would give their child their chicken. They just don't want to give that child that chicken, so that's why they're not having a child. People want to feel comfortable that they are going to be able to reliably feed themselves and their children because they do not want to have a hungry child. And if their child is fed, they want to make sure they can eat too.
I decided I wasn't going to have children when I was 17, and I just want to talk about it. I will never forget the exact moment of sitting in a little office in my high school doing my distance education studies of Australian politics, because they didn't offer it at my high school and it was year 12, and learning about climate change really properly for the first time from an article, might have been an essay or a speech from Bob Brown. And that was the moment that I decided I would never bring someone else into this world. I'm very much not against adoption and fostering, but not creating another carbon footprint. And the more I learnt about climate change and ecological impact over the next 20 years, has only imprinted that more and more and more for me. And I absolutely no longer live like the lowest carbon footprint life. I definitely did most of my 20s and early 30s, but it's probably not as bad as most people. And I do make, I'm conscious about it. So maybe go and look at the car that I drive. It's a petrol car. It uses a lot of petrol, but I have justified that to myself because I'm not duplicating my carbon footprint, and I don't really do any air travel and all these other different little things. So there's never an unconscious moment. It's always method in my madness. And I have no real feelings about other people having kids, apart from maybe just being a little bit worried that they don't have a full understanding of the situation that they're bringing someone into. On a really, on an international kind of long-term perspective. So I love being child-free. I also, honestly, I have physical stuff with it. The concept of someone else being inside my body, the concept of my body creating food for someone else makes me genuinely feel incredibly nauseous and uncomfortable, and I genuinely don't think I could physically go through with it. I probably would have a mental breakdown, I think. And so there's many reasons, but the core initial reason was that. And I cop it all the time from people, one day you'll change your mind. No. And my partner, as soon as he met me, I told him that ain't happening with me. In my 20s, I told my dad, that ain't happening with me. You're gonna have 4-legged granddaughters and that's it. And Even like had conversations with my partner of like, if at some point you decide that that is something that you need to do, I absolutely would not have any issues with us moving on and him finding someone to do that with. I would never hold him back. I would never try to convince him otherwise. I would be completely happy and fine with that because it's not going to happen here. And I just see so much information about this online, and so many people have so many opinions. And I saw a little take yesterday saying that the women who are very outraged by child-free women are likely the women who maybe didn't make that decision consciously in their own lives, or didn't realize that they had the option to not make it consciously. And obviously I'm in Australia, so our contraception issues is very different from other places in the world. We have a lot of great privilege and access here. And I just want to second that, because I've been like online and, sharing myself for like, 8 years or something. And the only hate I really get is from white women with 3+ little kids who are very, very offended by the independent and free and untethered lifestyle. I'm tethered to my dogs, but, untethered lifestyle that I have, and my ability to build this business and all of those kind of things. But that's why I'm child-free, and no one convinced me otherwise. If you want to, go ahead and waste your time and energy. If you need to do that, go ahead. I won't actually read it, so yeah.
Pregnancy isn't that special because women are built to do so. Did you know pregnancy leaves a dinner plate-sized wound in the uterus after delivering the placenta? Are you aware that when a woman has a C-section, the nerves they cut sometimes never grow back and therefore cause women to lose the ability to know when they have to pee? Is it on your radar that in some cases babies kick their mothers so hard from the inside that they break their ribs? Women may even die during pregnancy, for example, by amniotic fluid entering the bloodstream due to a simple cut. Even though you are built for pregnancy, it remains a superheroic act.
Childbirth damages a woman's vagina. This is a pelvis that just shows the bones and doesn't show any soft tissue. And this is a baby. I'm going to show you the relationship. You can see that the baby's head has to come through the pelvis, all the soft tissue that would be here, coming through the vagina in order to be delivered. And you can see that it's a tight fit. When the baby comes through, a woman's body's designed for this, but it doesn't mean that it's easy, and it doesn't mean that a woman won't have damage. The stuff that I commonly see after a woman has a baby is bladder leakage and a sensation like her bottom's dropping. Sometimes women have trouble.
Hi, I'm the girl with the list. According to the internet, I'm 6 months pregnant, and this is reason 264 why I won't be having kids.
You may have heard the term mommy brain or pregnancy brain in the past, but now we have actual proof that something is changing in our brains during our pregnancies. One of the biggest findings of the study is that our brain volume decreases throughout pregnancy. You can see it's mapped here. This is the beginning of pregnancy down to birth, and there's a steady decrease.
In case you didn't catch that, brain volume decreasing is just a fancy way of saying your brain shrinks. Your brain gets smaller and does not return to normal. I went looking for more details, and this is what I found. Your hippocampus literally shrinks, and the hippocampus is responsible for things like memory and word recall. You know when moms are like, gosh, I got pregnant and now I can never remember where my keys are? And also that feeling when you're like, oh, what's that word? It's on the tip of my tongue. You're gonna be experiencing that a lot more. Your prefrontal cortex also shrinks. This is the part of your brain that's in charge of planning and executive function. That's why moms might enter the kitchen and then forget why they went there in the first place. I'm 25. My prefrontal cortex has just finished developing. Like it's just clicked into place. If I were to have a kid right now, all of that work goes down the drain. Interestingly, your brain doesn't just shrink. There's parts of your brain that actually grow. Your amygdala actually gets larger, and this is the emotional center of the brain. Emotional center of your brain helps you bond with your child and recognize its needs. So it's kind of the brain's way of getting rid of what it thinks it doesn't need in order to make room for functions that will help you be a better parent. But I'm not convinced. I don't have the brain cells to spare. Leave my brain alone, take your birth control. See you tomorrow.
One of the many reasons I do not want kids, number one, childbirth. I actually had the pleasure of witnessing someone give birth in real time, and that shit shook me to my fucking core. And not a single bone in my body went, I would really like that. But what hit me even harder is actually how difficult childbirth is when you're broke, which is something I don't see a lot of people talk about. Number one, you do not have proper care. Number two, you do not get enough rest. Number three, you do not have even enough time to bond with your little one, because you have to figure out how you're going to feed and raise your little one. And yeah, I know someone will be quick to type, if your parents had the same mentality, you would not be here. My friend, are you trying to threaten me with a good time?
I just wanted to talk a little bit about my decision to be child-free. Now, I'm 44, and there is a lot that is said on this app around it as a subject, but I thought the thing that might be most helpful is to explain like some of the decision making around it, and also how that journey is not always so linear. The reason why I'm talking about this is because I've got a paperback novel coming out today called This Is Fine, published by Penguin, and it looks at this topic of being child-free and what nurture looks like when you don't have children, and maybe you do have siblings and nieces and nephews. When I was younger, I always assumed I would have kids, and I didn't really think about it particularly deeply. It's just that my cultural background is Indian, you know, it's what my parents and their generation did, and I just assumed that I would get married to someone at some point and then we would have kids. And I just thought, yeah, of course, that's like what happens, right? I don't know that I really asked myself whether or not I wanted to be a parent, whether or not I thought I would be a good mother. It just seemed like that was the path that was open to me, or had to be open to me. And when I look back at in retrospect, I'm just really surprised of it, because I don't come from like an overly traditional family, and I would say I'm not an overly traditional person. In my late 20s, I was sort of getting really upset about the fact that I hadn't really met anyone significant, you know, I hadn't been in like a significant relationship for a while. And, you know, that there was that whole pressure of, oh my God, I'm going to turn 30. I need to meet someone. I need to get married. It's never going to happen for me. I keep dating all of these fools. Why? And then I'd given up on dating, and I then ended up getting set up with a man by a mutual friend, and I thought it was going to be terrible, and it was not terrible. It was wonderful, and this person ended up being the person that I would marry. His name was Rob. Rob and I were very aligned on the same goals, you know, like in terms of our ethics, in terms of our politics, in terms of how we wanted to raise a family. And kids was something that we spoke about almost immediately. But again, it wasn't like with any particular deep thought. It was just this sort of like unit and this family that we kind of wanted to build together. And that was just seen as like a natural progression as part of what we were supposed to do. And in effect, I couldn't really distinguish that from actually what we wanted to do. Who has read my work, especially my nonfiction, will know that Rob tragically passed away 10 years ago, and he had really major issues. He had chronic depression, and he also had a very crippling addiction that I didn't know about when we met and when we got married, and it was something that was revealed halfway through our marriage. Kind of didn't really talk very much about kids at this time, but during he had to stay in a psychiatric hospital for part of it. And during one of the stays, we had to have a conversation about whether or not we were going to be able to have kids together. And it was the most heartbreaking conversation I think that I've ever had, like ever. And it was the moment that we realized that though we loved each other deeply, and though kids had always been part of this like big dream, like this big idea that we had, that we were not going to be able to raise and have these kids together. And that actually Rob might not be able to do that himself, because that was the severity and the extent of his addiction. Now, whether or not that would have changed based on his recovery and what his trajectory was like, I will never know. And in the last few months before he died, we were separated and we were talking about how we were going to save our marriage. And our marriage was really the thing that kind of had front and center. And I think the kids thing underpinned some of it. And the reason I'm sharing all of this is because I've already written about it. And so I'm going to ask people to be considerate and kind in the comments. Now, he died, and it was the most devastating, the worst thing that had happened. But after he died, like, life wasn't anything resembling like normal or functioning really for at least about a year or two. And when I was sort of like just even being able to think about things, and this would have been when I was roughly about maybe 37, I was seized with this idea that, yeah, maybe I could have kids and I'd do it alone, and, you know, I'd adopt or I'd have kids via a donor. And that was when I had to get really intentional about why I wanted children and whether or not I could whether I was going to be a fit person to raise them. Really and truly, I think that's when I made, it wasn't a definitive decision, but I was like, I don't think that this is going to be this is not for me. It's not just about raising a child alone, because I can imagine like people are going to comment about that, but it was about me as a potential mother and as a parent, and whether or not I could do that, or if I wanted to meet someone, right, in order to be able to have kids with them and obviously be in a functioning relationship. But because of the circumstances, I had to do that really deep work to ask myself whether this is something I wanted. And that was when I realized that it wasn't something that I wanted. People who have kids, who find them very joyful, who love them for whatever their reasons, right? Like some people's reasons are they had their own traumatic childhoods, and so children are a chance for them to start, you know, afresh and to have unconditional love, all of that. That's your own business, right? But I knew that the reason why I had even thought about wanting to bring kids into the world was to create a life that would be its own person. And also, I wanted to think about the impact that it would have on me as a person. Like, what would it bring out of me, right? And when I sat down and thought about all of those things, I knew that I was not going to be the right person. When I turned 40, that solidified into a line of like, now I definitely know I don't want kids. And you could talk about biology and all of this shit, but that was when mentally I knew I definitely didn't want kids. And all of the reason why I'm sharing all of this with you is because it's to say that sometimes for some people, the journey isn't linear, right? And the moment that I realized, by the way, that I didn't want kids, was the moment that I was able to be so much more generous and loving and nurturing to the other kids in my lives, like, you know, my friends and family and their kids. And it changed everything for me. It changed the motivation for why I might go on a date with someone. It changed, you know, the things that I might need from a partner. It changed how expansive I felt and how generous I wanted to be with my own life and my own home in terms of how much I give. And when I think back to, you know, my time with Rob, who I loved very much, but had we had children, I don't know that would have been the right decision. And the thing that you sometimes feel, especially at this age, is, you know, what is your purpose? Because the majority of people around me have children and most of them are married. And I would say that while a lot of them get so much joy from their children in flashes and in moments, it's not like an everyday fucking joy fest. But I don't envy their lives. I don't look at their lives and I think that's what I want. There are sometimes when I witness like an interaction or the bond between, especially like a daughter and a mother. But then I go home and like I do my own thing and I have my own friends and family and I have my work and I have 100 other things that give me a sense of purpose. And it doesn't feel lonely. When I witness the loneliness in other parents because of how badly the society sometimes supports them, especially mothers, there is a part of me that feels a lot of compassion. It doesn't make me feel envy, you know? And I think that by the time you get to my age, you understand that these things are not as black and white. And people who are trying to bend you to their cause in terms of, you know, pressuring you to have children, who are telling you that your life is going to be empty and pointless without it, it's just not true. And in fact, most oftentimes, the people who are saying those things, respectfully, they're not happy in their own lives, or they lack such empathy and diversity in their own friendship circle that they cannot see what it is like for other people. And those are the people who are never going to understand what your life is like either. Anyway, that was a bit of an overshare, wasn't it?
If you want to know the women who stand on business, ask 30-plus-year-olds that have no kids, never been married or divorced, have their own income, own job, own car, own crib, own career. These women said no to the trap. And I know I might get people upset in the comments or coming for me saying, well, I'm 30 plus and have kids and I still stand on business, or I got a divorce, yes, or I left him or her, got the relationship and I stood on business because I no longer tolerate this. Yes, kudos to you. All for that. Specifically this video, I am calling out and giving flowers to 30-plus-year-old women right now, millennial women, that never took the bait, not even once. Not even once. Those people stand on business. So if you want to learn how to stand on business, ask them.